And there. Hey, this is Thursday, October 15th and Friday, October 16th. And this is my regular class as we're going to get into learning more stuff and taking a quiz and fun stuff like that. As I'm dealing with a handful of issues from some crazy children. And by crazy children, I actually don't mean my students this time, as surprising as that might be. So we have quiz we're going to get to coming up. Well, we're going to talk about the necklace story more. Classes I have. Wait, I think I have one. No, that kid is dead. I have hall passes, but those kids are not here. So that would go to pictures, and I have no one in here I need to take pictures of. You guys are all good to go. So yay on that one. We're going to get into the IXL again, which we've talked about. My goal is hopefully you test out of IXL as long as you've been paying attention. Then in theory, today's quiz may be easy, especially since you get a chance to sort of do that whole redoing thing. And we've covered irony, so we're good to go with that one. And then we're going to get to story of the necklace. So then we got started. We got started this video, didn't we? Yeah, you guys are nodding your head at me. All right. Then we have the children at home who get, wow, that is a lot of head nodding. So you guys are at a rock concert for a second. All right, and you guys just all of a sudden, I love English, rocking all of your bad selves. All right, so yay to there. I apologize for all of my insanity issues at the beginning. I blame my own children. They are horrible, but it's probably their parents' fault. We're just not going to talk about that. Then to there. All right, I feel better having bad-mouthed small children. Necklace. Oh, who is main character in story?
Woman.
Good job. Oh, by the way, this is where home children, if you know answer, you do get a chance to yell at me. You can tell this because this is where Antoinette has the giant smile on her face because she's getting ready to yell at me, which brings her joy every single time. Are you okay there, Jerry L? Okay. And Jerry L's having some tea, but he's drinking it SpongeBob style by lifting one finger up as he drinks. Let me see. And with that one, ooh, is she a hottie or is she ugly?
A hottie.
Is her family a hotties or uglies?
Uglies.
Her families are a bunch of uggos. Is she rich or poor?
Poor.
Poor. And ooh, what is it she dreams of having? Now, quick time out on this because this was an issue we ran into earlier. Her idea of poor is probably different than your idea of poor because her idea of poor is she has a servant and she has money, but she doesn't have like 5 servants. She only has like 1 servant, as we're going to find out getting into the story. So when she complains about being poor, it's not like you guys poor. You guys are like ridiculous poor. She means like poor when you only have like 1 servant in a summer home kind of thing. Like that's her level of poor. Most of you are like, Mr. Broviak, that's like called rich. No, boo-boo. That's called poor compared to like the crazy rich people she hangs out with. So as we get farther into story, you start going, I don't think she's poor. She's not as poor as she makes herself out to be. She has a slightly different view of what poor is. So keep that part in mind. All right. And then we got to, yes. Oh, that level of poor. He was talking about the fact that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory level of poor. That is definitely not. We have like 8 grandparents all sleeping in the same bed under one house. It's like a creepy level of poor. It's not. I think it's the fact that she has like a large house and she has like a servant and stuff like that, which again is definitely not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory level of poor. So I would feel the same way. So we got to, how far did we get, you guys? We got all the way to that part. We found out that her husband tries to do something nice for her, as husbands do. What nice thing does husband do?
Give her money.
Her off his gun money.
Before the giving of money, although I do like the fact that you all think that a husband giving money is the nice thing, let's back up. He comes home with a gift for her.
A letter to go to a ball
Party
thing.
invitation.
Ball.
A comb.
Hang on. Yeah, I'm sure whoever said comb would know that they would get beaten by their parents when the parent gets home and they would not do such a thing. Sorry, I know the kid who said it, so it was okay to threaten them. I'll ask their parents if it's okay, and their parents say yes. Oh, I don't know Jeriel's parents. I'm not going to threaten to beat Jeriel. Jeriel's good. It actually pays attention. Right. So there's the ball that they get a chance to go to. And then, ooh, why is she upset about going to the ball?
She doesn't have a nice
She
dress.
doesn't have a dress.
So she has no, and by the way, don't be my first period. When I put a picture of a dress up there, and they're all like, that's an ugly dress. Why would she wear that dress? No one has dress on. It's a random picture of a dress. I literally just Googled dress and put it on there. It has no actual connection to the real dress. Just letting you know on that one, because first period team have all types of issues with it. So she says, I have no dress. So what does her husband do to help her with the dress issue?
Give her money.
Gives her money.
Gives her, now, what was he going to spend the money on?
Gun.
A gun.
Done.
The hunting rifle gun thing. And that's when she's like, ooh, money. And she gets all excited. He's like, make it rain. And gives her all the money and life is good. Then we get to the part where she gets grumpy again. We did get to the part where she's grumpy again. And again, she's like, no, I can't go back to party. And what's her second reason for not going to party?
No jewelry.
Now's the
No jewelry.
Now, her husband comes up with a good idea and says, hey, why don't you instead just wear flowers? And she's like, wear flowers? What am I, a poor person? And he's like, whoa, slow down, boo-boo. And that's what he says, like, well, we have a better idea. Instead of wearing flowers, like apparently poor people wear flowers, what is it that he says to do?
Borrow something.
He says, go find your rich friend and borrow some
Borrow
of hers.
the.
He's like, okay. That's what I'm making sure. All right. There and yeah. They're going to talk. They're going to talk about a Venetian cross in a moment. I did not know what a Venetian cross was, so I had to Google it. This is what a Venetian cross is. So when they talk about a Venetian cross in a moment, this is the one they're referring to. All right. So then, home children and living children. We're on the third column of story, down halfway down, where it says, we're going to start with, it says, how stupid you are, just because I think that's a fun line to say. And it brings me joy to say that when staring at kids. How stupid you are, exclaimed her husband. Go and see Mrs. Forestier and ask her to lend you some jewels. You know her quite well enough for that. She uttered a cry of delight. That's true. I never thought of it. The next day, she went to see her friend and told her her trouble. Mrs. Forestier went to her dressing table, took up a large box, brought it to Mrs. Loisel, opened it, and said, shoes, my dear. First, she saw some bracelets, then a pearl necklace, then a Venetian cross behind me, in gold and gems of exquisite workmanship. She tried the effect of the jewels before the mirror, hesitating, unable to make up her mind to leave them or to give them up. And she kept on asking, haven't you anything else? Yes, look for yourself. I don't know what you would like best. Suddenly, she discovered in a black satin case a superb diamond necklace. Her heart began to beat covetously. Her hands trembled as she lifted it. She fastened it around her neck upon her high dress and stared in shocked wonder at the beautiful sight of herself. Then, with hesitation, she asked in anguish, could you lend me this? Just this alone? Yes, of course. She flung herself around her friend, embraced her crazily, and went away with her treasure. Again, I Googled diamond necklace. This is not the actual diamond necklace. This is random diamond necklace. So again, my kids in first period started trying to necklace shame her. And they were like, who would wear a necklace like that? I'm like, I don't know. I just randomly Googled diamond necklace. Stop trying to necklace shame. So this will be what we have going into. All right. That's what I thought too. I thought it looked like a really good diamond necklace. That first period was a bunch of haters. So whatever. So that gives us our diamond necklace. So she gets that. And so now she's good to go. She has her dress. She has her necklace. And we have the party. Nothing can go wrong from here. Except we're just now getting to the rising action. The day of the party arrived. Mrs. Loisel was a success. She was the prettiest woman present, elegant, graceful, smiling, and quite above herself with happiness. Good job. Rising action, Jerry. See? You guys harassed Jerry Ellen. That kid knows what's going on. All the men stared at her, asking her name, and wanted to be introduced to her. All the rich young bachelors were eager to waltz with her. Even the minister himself noticed her. You guys know what a bachelor is? There is a show called The Bachelor, but what is The Bachelor on the show The Bachelor? Nicely done. It's what they said. It's a single guy. For those who at home, like, I watched the show, Mr. Good job. So it's a single guy. Then what's a bachelorette?
A single one.
That's the single girl. Just that's why the TV show is called Bachelorette, because it's single girl and bachelor.
Bachelor then?
Thank good. It started already. Oh wait, I don't care. But the only good thing about that TV show is it has taught kids what a bachelor is. So when I get to a store and go, "What's a bachelor?" They go, "That's on TV." And I'm like, "See?" And your parents say TV is bad for you. You learned the definition of one word. That makes all the TV worthwhile. But apparently it makes her excited because now all of the bachelors want to come dance with her. And she's like, hubba, hubba, I'm a hottie. So she's excited. They're all dancing with her. It is a perfect night. She danced madly, enthusiastically, drunk with pleasure, with no thought for anything in the triumph of her beauty, in the pride of her success, in a cloud of happiness made up of this universal worship and admiration of the desires she had aroused, of the completeness of a victory so dear to her female heart. She left around 4 o'clock in the morning. Since midnight, her husband had been dozing in a deserted little room in the company with 3 other men whose wives were having a good time. So not leaving until super early in the morning, but she had the best night of her life because she deserves it, because she's a hottie, and hot people deserve to have things like that happen to them. And Finley, that was an awesome picture. I did see it. He deserved it. He threw over her shoulder the jackets he had brought for them to go home in, modest, everyday clothes whose poverty clashed with the beauty of the ball dress. She was aware of this and was anxious to hurry away so that she should not be noticed by the other women putting on their costly furs. Mr. Loisel restrained her. Wait a little, you'll catch a cold out in the open. I'm going to go fetch a cab. Ooh, you guys remember what time of year it's taking place? Nicely done. January. On the beginning over there, it said the whole thing is taking place January 18th. So, you know what? Wow, look at you, sassy pants. That's why Maxwell's in the date. Technically, it is January 19th because it was all the way till 4 a.m. the next day. Good flex. Maybe I will flex for you tomorrow. Ethan? And it did. That's what she was waiting going up to it. You are correct. Nicely. That's what time is. Pat, look at you guys paying attention. Flex for me, Mr. Broviak. Flex for me. You guys make me so proud. She did not listen to him and rapidly descended the staircase. When they were out in the street, they could not find a cab. They began to look for one, shouting at the drivers whom they saw passing in the distance. They walked down towards the river, desperate and shivering. At last, they found on the main avenue one of those old night prowling taxis, which is only to be seen in cities after dark, as though they were ashamed of their shabbiness in the daylight. It brought them to their door on Martyr Road, and sadly, they walked up to their own apartment. It was the end for her. As for him, he was thinking that he must be at the office at 10 in the morning. What time did they leave the party? 4. They probably didn't get home until 5, 6. He has to be at work at 10. Sucks to be him. She took off the garments in which she wrapped her shoulders so as to see herself in all her glory before the mirror. But suddenly she uttered a cry. Oh no! The necklace was no longer around her neck. What is the matter with you? Asked her husband, already half undressed. She turned towards him in utter distress. I've no longer got Mrs. Forestier's necklace. He started with astonishment. What? Impossible. They searched in the folds of her dress, in the folds of the coat, in the pockets, everywhere. They could not find it. Are you sure that you still had it on you when you came away from the ball? Yes, I touched it in the hall of the ministry. But if you'd lost it in the street, we would have heard it fall? Yes, probably we should have. Did you take down the number of the cab? No, you didn't notice it, did you? No! They stared at one another, dumbfounded. At last, Mr. Loisel put on his clothes again. Okay, I will go over all the ground we walked and see if I can't find it. Excuse me. Yes, a cab is a taxi. You are correct. As he went out, she remained in her evening clothes, lacking strength to get into bed, huddled on a chair, without the ability or power of thought. Her husband returned about 7 in the morning. He had found nothing. So I'm guessing an hour or so? I mean, anyway, so yeah, trying to figure out how the time went by. He went to the police station, to the newspapers to offer reward, to the cab companies, everywhere that a ray of hope sent him. She waited all day long in the same state of bewilderment at this fearful catastrophe. Mr. Loisel came home at night, his face lined and pale. He had discovered nothing. You must write to your friend and tell her that you've, I don't know, broken the clasp of her necklace or getting it mended or something. That will give us time to look about us. She wrote as he came up with the right words. What do those little dots mean?
Different setting.
There you go. Nicely done. Jumping to the new setting and stuff like that as we jump around. So hang on, quick rewind. How did the party go for her? She was a hottie. Everybody loved her. It was big thumbs up. Then she gets home from party. What does she discover? Is the necklace hers? So she lost necklace that does not belong to her. And they try to find necklace, but can't find it. Do they go and tell the friend right away? They do what every kid would do, which is, by the way, all the previous answers, only 1 or 2 of you answered. As soon as I said they do the bad thing that every kid does, like all 8 of you are like, what? Like that was the answer that all of you knew the answer to on that one. Kind of tells me a little something on that one. It's because we all play Among Us. Is that why you guys lie? Yep, that's the only place I ever lie. Bunch of liars already. I can just feel it. So now, you guys know what a clasp is. They said go lie about the clasp being broken. Yes, connecty thingy. So if we were to spin her neck around, and spin her around, it's the claspy thing that goes connecty. I'm not going to break her neck. And so that's they're talking about the clasp being broken. They said lie about it, and that makes everything better. What has every kid learned about lying? That's right. Lying helps you get away after you vent. So we've all learned you have to lie nonstop because lying makes everything better. Let's find out. By the end of a week, they had lost all hope. Mr. Loisel, who had aged 5 years, declared, we must see about replacing the diamonds. The next day, they took the box which had held the necklace and went to the jeweler's whose name was inside. He consulted his books. Excuse me. It was not I who sold this necklace, ma'am. I must have words are hard. I must have merely supplied the clasp. Then they went from jeweler to jeweler, searching for another necklace just like the first, consulting their memories, both ill with remorse and anguish of mind. In a shop at the upscale mall, they found a string of diamonds which seemed to them exactly like the one they were looking for. It was worth $40,000. They were allowed to have it for $36,000. They begged the jeweler not to sell it for 3 days, and they arranged matters on the understanding that it would be taken back for $34,000 if the first one were found before the end of February. So they find a replacement. How much is new necklace going to cost? Yeah, originally $40,000, but they get a discount, 10% off, which drops it down to $36,000, which last time I checked is a lot of money. And so they're going to be able to buy a $36,000 necklace. That's like 2 of my cars, by the way. Then again, I'm a teacher. That's like, half of a normal person's car. Mr. Loisel possessed $18,000 left to him by his father. He intended to borrow the rest. He did borrow it. He got $1,000 from one man, 500 from another, $5 here, $3 there. He gave promissory notes, entered into horrible agreements, did business with loan sharks and the whole tribe of evil moneylenders. He mortgaged the whole remaining years of his existence, risked his signature without even knowing if he could honor it, and appalled at the agonizing face of the future, at the black misery about to fall upon him, at the prospect of every possible physical attack and moral torture, he went to get the new necklace and put down upon the jeweler's counter $36,000. When Mrs. Loisel took back the necklace to Mrs. Forestier, the latter said to her in a chilly voice, "You ought to have brought it back sooner. I might have needed it." She did not, as her friend had feared, open the case. If she had noticed the substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Would she not have taken her for a thief? Speaking of which, did she tell the truth? No. Has she gotten away with her crime? Yes, she has. So what is it you should have learned? There you go. Lying does help you get away with things. They lied about it. Now, of course, there's one drawback, which is how much money they owe.
37,000.
Nicely done. Mathing. It cost 36,000. He had 18,000, and I'm not real good at math, but I'm pretty sure that still leaves, right? 18 plus 18 is 36. Math is hard. We should have an NWA test. I think they still owed 18,000 on that one. So it's still a lot of money. That's yeah, and that is the problem, as Mr. Moss points out. They were not borrowing it from banks. They were borrowing from the guy in the back alley who has like the baseball bat. And he was like, "I'll give you $5." Slap, slap. And so that's where they're borrowing the money from. So yes, technically their lie has paid off until they lose a kneecap coming up. Let's find out about the removal of kneecaps. What? Never mind. Mrs. Loisel came to know the horrible life of being absolutely poor. From the very first, she played her part heroically. This fearful debt must be paid off. She would pay it. The servant was dismissed. They moved to smaller apartments. They even rented a room in their small home to a local man to use. So essentially now she's like poor. She had to get rid of her servant. I know. Who gets rid of their servants? And now they have to Airbnb a place in their house to try and make money. But it gets worse. She came to know the heavy work of the house, the hateful duties of the kitchen. She washed the plates, wearing out her pink nails on the coarse pottery and the bottom of pans. She washed the dirty linen, the shirts and dishcloths, hung them out to dry on a string. Every morning, she took the dustbin down into the street, carried up the water, stopping on each landing to get her breath, and, clad like a poor woman, she went to the fruit market, to the grocer, to the butcher, a basket on her arm, haggling, insulted, fighting for every wretched penny of her money. Every month, bills had to be paid off, others renewed, time gained. Her husband worked in the evenings at putting straight a merchant's accounts, and often at night he did copying at 50 cents a page. This life lasted 10 full years. At the end of 10 years, everything was paid off. Everything. The loan shark's charges, the accumulation of superimposed interest on the money borrowed. Mrs. Loisel looked old now. She'd become like all the other strong, hard, coarse women of poor households. Her hair was badly done. Her skirts were awry. Her hands were red. Tamara accidentally got kicked out. Second, making sure Tamara can come in. Come here, Tamara. Wait, is she coming in tomorrow? No, her name's Tamara. Sorry, back joke. Her hair was badly done. Her skirts were awry, and her hands were red. She spoke in a shrill voice, and the water slopped all over the floor when she scrubbed it. But sometimes, when her husband was at the office, she sat down by the window and thought of that evening long ago, of the ball which she had been so beautiful and so much admired. Quick pause, real quick. So at the beginning, she thought she was poor because she didn't have super rich stuff and only had one servant. But now what is she? Poor, poor, like down there kind of poor, like nothing at all kind of poor. So now she is the kind of poor that she always feared. But what did she get away with? What have we learned? There you go. Lying pays off. And yes, Jeriel, I'm reading all of your comments. I'm not ignoring them. I'm just not responding to them, head bobble. Oh, what would have happened if she had never lost those jewels? Who knows? How strange life is, how fickle, how little is needed to ruin or to save. One Sunday, as she had gone for a walk along the riverbank to freshen herself after the labors of the week, she caught sight suddenly of a woman who was taking a child out for a walk. It was Mrs. Forestier, still young, still beautiful, still attractive. Mrs. Loisel was conscious of some emotion. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now that she had paid, she would tell her everything. Why not? She went up to her and said, "Good morning, Jean." The other did not recognize her and was surprised at being familiarly addressed by a poor woman. Ma'am, she stammered, "I don't know you. You must be making a mistake." "No, I am Matilda Loisel." Her friend uttered a cry. Oh, my poor Matilda, how you've changed. Yes, I've had some hard times since I saw you last, and many sorrows, and all because of you. Because of me? Well, how was that? You remember the diamond necklace you lent me for the ball of the ministry? Yes. Well, I lost it. Oh, how could you? Why, you brought it back to me. Oh, I brought you another one just like it. And for the last 10 years, we have been paying for it. You realize it wasn't easy for us. We had no money. Well, it's paid for at last, and I am glad indeed. Mrs. Forestier had halted. Wait, you say you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine? Yes, and you hadn't even noticed it. They were very much alike. She smiled in proud and innocent happiness. Mrs. Forestier, deeply moved, took her two hands. Oh, my poor Matilda. Mine was fake. It was worth at the very most $500. And that's where our story ends. So she got away with her lie. Yay! But of course, we find out at the end that may have been the worst possible thing to have happen to her. Because how much was that necklace worth?
500, like I said to remember.
500. And how much did she pay for the new one?
36.
I'm not real good at this math thing, but last time I checked, 36,000 is worth slightly more than 500 by at least $1. So it sounds like she did not get a good deal on that one. Nicely done. So of course, what should she have done at the very beginning? If only she had told the truth, everything would have worked out. And plus, this really rich woman lets her borrow a fake necklace, which would be an example of irony. The fact that you expect the rich woman to have the really rich necklace, but instead she has the fake one, and it was the poorer woman who had the nicer thing. Yes. What's that? Correct. What? Don't reward Jerry L just because he happened to read the story before. What? Jerry L would never make such poor choice. That's ridiculous. How dare you text your... Yes, I'm well aware. Oh, while we're doing it, let's play the fun game real quick before we move on to our next part. Let's go ahead. We only have 4 kids to play. 4 kids, video check. Let's see which kids we get to. Oh, no. Hang on. You got lucky from there. Uh-oh, I got it before I can count. And those who are not on camera, 5, there's 4, there's 3. Uh-oh, I still have 3 kids left. 2, there's 1, and And there. Oh, right as I got to it.
Aw.
Nicely done. That was close. Good job with my video check. And back to here. I know. I got excited also. It's not our fault they're paying attention and good kids. Someday they may be hooligans. Yay, hooligans! Speaking of hooligans, in story, who would main character be? Wait, no.
Matilda.
Before we get to it, we're going to take a quick pause and we're going to take a 3-minute standing break to give people a chance. I'm going to pause recording. There you go. And we're back. All right, now we get a chance to do more learning. Those you home. I'm using red to charge you points. That's silly.
Hey, I didn't know Elmo was in help.
What's with the
Then
pop
back to-
ASMR?
With our rough day today, are we? There. All right, then back to here. With that, you're still talking, Blaze. I'm still charging you points. All right, and then just like I'm charging the kiddo. Sorry, kids at home and kids watching recording. I thought they were ready for me not to charge them points. Apparently, we're having a tough day. Necklace is an exciting story. Back to here. Not your head. Who is our main character in story? Nice.
Martha.
So I'm only going to do 3 characters. So who would second most important character be?
Husband.
Would agree. Third character?
Mary Poppins.
Nice enough. So then, for your description of each one, that cannot work for any other character. So you cannot just do girl, because that's not going to work. So how are you going to describe Matilda in a way that does not work for another character? Ethan?
Wife of a poor man.
So wife of a poor man would work. Lost necklace, though, might apply to the husband, too. But I can see where you're going on that one. Not bad. Owen? Okay, no globetrotter. Nice try, though. So you have to be more specific on that one. Well, no, he didn't say the N word. It was just that's like saying girl or dog. You have to go more into than just only one named Matilda. But you're on the right track. I would go more for, I put spoiled brat, the one who loses necklace, something that tells me more information about character. And how about Mr. Loisel?
The only boy that is mentioned that actually has a character.
Other globetrotter? No, you're going to have to be a bit more specific than that one. Don't make me throw shade at you. Yeah. Hey, globetrotter, still no. And
Spoiled brat lady.
what was that, PJ?
Married to the spoiled brat lady.
That would work. Married to the spoiled brat lady would probably be better. I did patient husband, but you could do the gold dug husband. And Mrs. Forestier?
Rich.
There you go. Because apparently she's the really rich one, so the friends like that would work. Setting, I'm not going to worry about that one. Ooh, we do know what time of year it takes place.
January.
Nicely done.
January.
And
Which is
for
the
the party, what time of day did it take place? There you go. Those are the only 2 real ones I can think of.
morning, actually.
Hang on, Wyatt got kicked out. Come back, Wyatt.
Don't let him back in. Close the gate.
Sorry, it kicked me out.
That's right, it happened. And then for the where, our 3 main locations for where at the beginning of story is house, apartments, and then middle of story
Ball.
at the very end of story. At the very end, when she meets the other lady, there you go, out there on the park. House, party, park. Then for our whole, what do you call it, the exposition, rising action, home children, this will come back to you guys also. I mean, you can give me your finger number thing for each one. How does the story begin? Exposition. So hold up finger number for exposition. Ready? We have Matilda is a spoiled brat who only thinks about herself, and then they get invited to a fancy party. We discover that the necklace is a fake and all the work was wasted. They cover up the loss of the necklace with lies and deceit. They spend years paying off all the money for the necklace. They have a blast at the party, and then they lose the necklace. Your finger number for which one do you think is exposition? And except for those of you who are just staring blankly. Nicely done. Then after exposition is rising action. Your finger number for rising action. We already did number 1. You can't keep holding up number 1. We already did number 1. You already did number 1. Don't keep shouting it to me. Yes, I would agree. And our climax is going to be the toppy, most exciting bit. Uh-oh, I see disagreements. I'm seeing different numbers. And I would agree. Covering up the loss with lies and deceit. And then after climax, as we come back down, our following action. Go into following action from there. Which number you? Pick your number, Delaney. Okay, I have to yell at you. And I would agree. And then the very last one's going to be the. All right. Ooh, internal. Let's go to this one. To our internal conflict. Let's go to internal conflict. What word should never be used? Well, you can say it here. Good job. N-O-T. Not. What word do you have to use? Nicely done. So with Matilda, what big decision does she end up making at the beginning? Well, Zachary? Not bad. Lie. Faith in her life. It's the same thing. Her husband has like a couple major decisions that pop up in there. Max? Nicely done. Buy a gun or give money to wife. And as we found out, if he'd kept the gun, and he probably could have made money, because there you go, going out there and hunting animals or robbing stores, whatever you do with guns. On external conflict, there's a couple fights that happen in the story. Wait, what word do we have to use in an external conflict? Versus. So who is it Mrs. Loisel fights at the very beginning of the story? I would say at the beginning of it, Mr. Loisel, Mrs. Loisel, they keep having the fighty things going back and forth. Then, as the story goes along, who does Mrs. Loisel fight? Yeah, I think I'd say the poorness or the loss of the necklace and stuff like that. I think your biggest obvious thing is going to be Matilda versus Mr. Loisel. Okay. Ooh, point of view. Home children, first person, third person for your point of view and story. And nicely done. I would agree. Then again, limited or omniscient. And nicely done. And could be. I would go with the two scenes. He's learning slowly. Sometimes you just have to have pain to learn. And so on that one, I would agree. There's two scenes. One when the husband takes off, and when they go search for things, and when the husband's sitting in that room. But my only problem with that is it doesn't actually follow him. It just says like it's following her, and then says he's in there. So for all I know that she sees him. So I had another kid bring up that same one. I think it's a solid point. So I would say I would not count that one. So yes, I would go with this one. I think it's probably limited following her. There's a couple scenes where it gets a little close, but I would say overall, I would stick with limited and feel pretty strong on that one. A good fight. Zachary? Yeah, hopefully the theme just comes up and smacks you upside the head on this one. That whole you should not lie thing. Because that's what I was trying to go for, that whole the truth. Things would have been so much better for her. That's pretty much it. There's our story of the necklace. Right? That we had.
That I missed.
Who knows? All kinds of stuff. That's what happens when you drop off the face of the earth. Then I'm going to try an experiment with you guys. Here's my experiment I want to try with you. I am going to, for the thing for Priscilla and the Wimps, with the story, if you have already read it, you can go ahead and start quiz. If you have not read it, I am going to read story to you out loud, but I'm not going to answer questions about it. I just want to make sure that you actually hear story. So if you would like to, you can go ahead and just begin quiz if you are responsible enough to have already read it. If not, I will read the story out loud to you so that you can go ahead and listen to it. Because I'm afraid a lot of you guys try to take the quiz without ever having read the story, and I think it comes back to haunt you. So I figure we're going to try a thing where I just read it to you. Even if I don't answer questions, at least you've heard the words. So that's what I'm going to try with you. To get the quiz, by the way, it's on Canvas page. You can get to it through any of those 3 places. If you want to see your own copy of Priscilla and the Wimps, you can download it and follow along, or you can just listen to me read it. If you'd like to take quiz while I'm reading, that is fine with me. Those of you who are humans who are alive here, you're more than welcome to get yours out, and you can listen to me also. I want to go through and read story to you, and I want to see if this helps increase grades. Because my goal is to make you smarter and see if you do better. All right. If you are at home and you are one of the kids who already read story because you are responsible and you don't want to listen to my melodic voice, you are more than welcome to go ahead and mute me and then just go ahead and take quiz. But then you don't get to hear my melodic voice, and that's going to be up to you. And no, I'm not doing a screen check at the moment because I'm letting them go ahead and start quiz. But that was a good try. All right. Priscilla and the Wimps. Listen, all right. There was a time when you couldn't even go to the restroom around this school without a pass. And I'm not talking about those little pink tickets made out by some teacher. I'm talking about a pass that cost anywhere up to $1, sold by Monk Clutter. Not that mighty Monk ever touched money. No, not in public. The gang he ran, which ran the school for him, was his collection agency. They were Clutter's Cobras, a name spelled out in nail heads on 6 well-known black plastic windbreakers. Monk's threads were more subtle. A pile-lined suede battle jacket with lizard skin flaps over tailored Levi's and a pair of ostrich skin boots, brass-toed and suitable for kicking people around. One of his Cobras did nothing all day but walk a half step behind Monk, carrying a fitted bag with Monk's gym shoes, a roll of restroom passes, a cash box, and a switchblade that gave Monk himself manicures with a lunch over at the Cobra's table. Speaking of lunch, there were a few cases of advanced malnutrition among the newer kids. The ones who were a little slow in handing over a cut of their lunch money were therefore barred from the cafeteria. Monk ran a tight ship. Now, I admit it, I am 5'5", and when the Cobra slithered by, with or without Monk, I shrank. And I admit this too, I paid up on a regular basis. And I might add, so would you. The school was old Monk's Garden of Eden. Unfortunately for him, there was a serpent in it. The reason Monk didn't recognize trouble when it was staring him in the face is that the serpent in the Cobra's Eden was a girl. Now, practically every guy in school could show you his scars, fang marks from Cobras, you might say, and they were all highly visible in the shower room. Lumps, lacerations, blue bruises, you name it. But girls usually got off with a warning, except there was one girl named Priscilla Roseberry. Okay, picture a girl named Priscilla Roseberry, and you're going to be light years off. Priscilla was hands down the largest student in our particular institution of learning. Right? I'm not talking fat big, but she towered over most everyone who stood near her. She was even a bit beautiful in a bionic way. Priscilla wasn't inclined toward organized crime. Otherwise, she could have put together a gang that would turn Clutter's Cobras into garter snakes. Priscilla was basically a loner, except she had one friend, a little guy named Melvin Detweiler. You talk about the odd couple. Melvin's one of the smallest guys above midget status ever seen. A really nice guy, but, little. They even had lockers next to each other in the same bank as mine. I don't know what they had going. I'm not saying it was a romance. After all, people deserve their privacy. Priscilla was sort of above everything, if you'll pardon the pun, and very calm, as only the very big can be. If there was anybody who didn't notice Clutter's cobras, it was Priscilla. Until one winter day after school, when we were all grabbing our coats out of our lockers and hurrying, since Clutter's cobras made sweeps of the halls for after-school shakedowns. Anyway, up to Melvin's locker swaggers one of the cobras. Never mind his name. Gang members don't need names. They've got like a group identity. He reaches down, grabs little Melvin by the neck, and slams his head against his locker door. The sound of his skull against steel rippled all the way down the locker row, speeding the crowds on their way. Okay, let's see your pass, snarls the cobra. Pass for what this time? Melvin asks, probably still dazed. Let's call it a pass for very short people, says the cobra. A dwarf tax. He wheezes a little cobra chuckle at his own wittiness. And already he's reaching for Melvin's wallet with the hand that isn't circling Melvin's windpipe. All this time, of course, Melvin and the cobra are standing in Priscilla's big shadow. She's taking her time, shoving her books into her locker, pulling out a very large size coat. Then, quicker than the eye, she brings the side of her enormous hand down in a chop that breaks the cobra's hold on Melvin's throat. You could hear a pin drop in that hallway. Nobody has ever laid a finger on a cobra, let alone a hand the size of Priscilla's. Then Priscilla, who hardly ever says anything to anybody except to Melvin, says to the cobra, "Who's your leader, wimp?" This practically blows the cobra away. First, he's chopped by a girl, and now she's acting like she doesn't even know who Monk Clutter, the head honcho of the world. He's so amazed, he tells her, "Monk Clutter? Never heard of him," Priscilla mentions. "Send him to me." The cobra just backs away from her like the whole situation is too big for him, which it is. Pretty soon, Monk slides up. He jerks his head once, and his cobras slither off down the hall. He's going to handle this interesting case personally. Who is it around here that doesn't know Monk Clutter? He's standing inches from Priscilla, but since he'd have to look up at her, he doesn't. Never heard of him, says Priscilla. Monk's not happy with this answer, but by now he has spotted Melvin, who's grown smaller in spite of himself. Monk breaks his own rule by reaching for Melvin with his own hands. "Kid," he says, "you're going to have to educate your girlfriend." His hands never quite make it to Melvin. In a move of pure poetry, Priscilla has Monk in a hammerlock. His neck is popping like gunfire, and his head is bowed under the immense weight of her forearm. His suede jacket's peeling back, showing pile. Priscilla's behind him in another easy motion, and with a single mighty thrust forward, frog marches Monk into her own locker. It's incredible. His ostrich skin boots click once in the air, and suddenly he's gone, neatly wedged into the locker. A perfect fit. Priscilla bangs the door shut, twirls the lock, strolls out of school. Melvin goes with her, of course, trotting along below her shoulder. The last stragglers leave quietly. Well, this is where fate, an even bigger force than Priscilla, steps in. It snows all that night, a blizzard. The whole town ices up, and school closes for a week with him still there. That's the end of the story. Then, now you guys are good to go. You can't leave until you turn in quiz. Once you have submitted quiz, then you can take off. Mr. Monge, you can now take him with you if you want. Then I can kick out the other one. Let's see. There. I'm going to mute myself. Stop bothering.